All right, guys, so another interesting day on the farm. We got 15 parakeets this morning that were surrendered to us, and we're gonna add them to our aviary. We only currently have 4 parakeets, and it's a massive aviary, so there's plenty of space for all of them, but we don't have very much perching space in there for that many birds, so we're gonna go cut some new branches. A lot of the branches that we get for our birds are just native species of trees. A lot of people will spend money going to different places, PetSmart, pet stores, and spend a lot of money on branches for their bird, but we like to change them every so often, so we just use trees, natural trees, and natural wood that's non-toxic from our own area. So we're actually gonna get some branches from some sweet gum trees and a couple of maple trees that we recently cut down and chainsaw them to the right size and hang them up in the aviary. Let's go. Always, whenever you're using a chainsaw, be sure to wear your safety shoes and safety gloves and safety gear. Never do as we do. So this is where we're making a pasture for our horses. This is the pile of trees that we've cleared. And we had one dead tree that fell on the fence a while back, so I actually see a perfect branch on that I'm gonna go grab. So as you guys can see here, this is a great branch to put in there. It's got some twists in it. I'm not really concerned about any parasites or anything. And this tree here is dead, so it's not really heavy. And there's no sap that I have to worry about leaking out and getting on the bird's feet or feathers or anything like that. So this is great, and we'll be able to fit it through the door to the aviary. They'll enjoy it because it's wider on one end and it's got some smaller branches on this side, so their feet can move different positions. And this rough wood also is wonderful for wearing down their nails. So we're gonna look for a few more and then we'll head up to the aviary. So I do see some wild cherry trees that we threw in here, and I don't want to use any of those because wild cherry leaves supposedly have toxins in them. So we're not going to use any of that. We're just using maple, which I know is safe because that's what I use with my macaws. Sweet gum, as long as it's dried out and doesn't have any sap in it, and a couple of different oak trees. And I am getting all the leaves off just because all they're gonna do is die, and plants hold most of their toxins in the leaves. So I'm getting all those off and cutting any extra branches off just so we can fit it through the door. It's kind of like an artistic process. You kind of just play with it, and that's part of the fun, is just going out and figuring out things that you can use for your animals outside. And I'm so glad I just found this. This is one of my favorite things to use in the aviaries. It's a piece of muscadine grapevine. Not both of them. This is the muscadine grapevine, and you can find these out in the woods if you have anybody that has muscadine vines in their woods. These things are absolutely phenomenal. You can actually buy these in a pet store. It's probably be like $1 million in a pet store, but just out in the woods, it was on the ground. And like I said, this is an area that we were clearing, so we had a lot of stuff down. But even in a small subdivision, you've got to know somebody that's cutting a tree down or something like that, where you can get new enrichment for your birds. All right, guys, so this is the small bird aviary behind us that we're gonna be moving the birds in. It is an 8 foot by 8 foot by 16 foot aviary, and it's fully enclosed on 3 sides and obviously the roof, and it's got a dirt floor. We've got some pheasants in there and 2 quail that help clean up any mess from the birds, and we've got some diamond doves in there as well. So these guys are all community birds. They do great in a community setting. We don't breed the birds. We don't put any houses in there. If there's any eggs in there, we're gonna remove them. The 15 parakeets that we're adding are a mix of male and female, some young, some older. So what we wanna do is add these branches in there so that they have plenty of spots, so that the birds that are in there, it's new to them too. It's new for everybody. They're all learning their way around. If we just threw them in that cage with them, it is big enough that they can get hiding spots, but we don't want them to have the advantage over the new birds. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on and getting those branches added, and yeah, we'll be adding the birds very soon. All right, guys, don't be scared. None of the animals in here will bite or hurt you for the most part. But I am gonna have to move really slow because I don't want to scare anybody, and I definitely don't want anybody to fly out, because when we designed this aviary, we didn't design a catch pen. So that's one thing I wish, is that a catch pen is like a phone booth sized wire enclosure right here. So I'd walk into that, close the door, and then walk into this. So that's what I need to kind of do. But that's in the plans like 100 years from now. So the first thing we're gonna do is rearrange some of the stuff in here. So this branch right here is probably gonna go in that back corner. And we'll take little breaks because we don't want the birds to get too stressed out. So we'll take breaks and let everybody like calm down and stuff. We're just listening for the wings. When you don't hear any wings, that means you can walk out. Feed it in slowly. Like, the design is the hardest part. The angle going this way. So I try to get it to where there's plenty different size perches for all the birds, but also so the whole aviary has kind of light spaces, and make it look a little bit natural. I mean, it's not gonna look super natural because obviously it's man-made and, you know, birds in a cage, but we're gonna try and get it as pretty as we can. I'm just using regular deck screws for this. I know there's better stuff that you can use. I like these because you can hide it a whole lot better. So I definitely recommend using long screws for this because these are it's hardwood, it's all oak wood and hardwood, and there's a lot of bark. You got to get through that layer of bark. So we are using 3-inch long deck screws. Some of the issues that you occasionally have to worry about in aviaries is primarily cats, things like that. The wire on this is hardware cloth. It's super sturdy, like a big dog wouldn't be able to get in. And we went down with the walls under the ground and dug rocks up under them. Our cats do come up here, and sometimes they scare the birds. They're mainly up here now because we're up here. So once we go away, they pretty much leave it alone. We also spray it with the water hose a lot and have misters to keep them away. But as long as cats can't access it, the birds kind of get used to it. This girl right here, right below us, is actually a blind golden pheasant female. So she's not sweet. She just thinks that I'm just another bird touching her, but she is blind. She eats like crazy. She does really, really well, but she is completely blind. What's up, girl? Very cute. And then that's her husband and her sister back there behind her. We also need to increase some ground hiding space. So just in case a bird is getting bullied or anything, which we really don't have to worry about, but just in case, we want something that if they go on the ground, they can hide in. So we'll put a couple of, what I use is a flake of some hay. Just put a couple piles of hay, and that way they can get in there. And it also gives them stuff to mess up to play with. So a lot of people also ask me about things like mites and lice and stuff. And a healthy bird should always be able to protect itself, groom itself, and keep those off. Only time you'd ever have to worry about something else is if it is an unhealthy bird. So putting things in here like this doesn't seem like a big deal, but the importance of, say, the male quail is trying to breed with the female quail, just having different objects to limit her visibility, to be able to stay away from him, is really important for her. And we also, in the wintertime, there's a lot of seeds in here that are in the bird seed that grow in the wintertime. I'm not sure why they grow more in the winter than in the summer. If you look, Jonas can zoom in, we pour a lot of the seed on the ground, and it comes up into sprouts every day, and the birds will eat it just about every day. It's all gone. And then the ones that we threw from the day before or week before are popping up. But then you can see their bowl of seed that we have over there. We've got a couple of native plants, these plants that are in here, not native, non-toxic plant, Loriope. The berries on it can be toxic, but they'd have to eat so many that they're not going to get that. And the Aurelias are not toxic either. So we have a lot of those in here, and they're evergreen. It's all evergreen stuff. The parakeets like to eat a lot of greenery, so they may nibble on some of it. Just kind of doubles as shade and visual barriers for them, as well as some enrichment. All right, guys, so I'm just going to show y'all kind of what the inside of the cages look of the birds that we got. I don't know if they were living like this or if they were all put into a smaller cage, but these are the cages, and these cages are nowhere near big enough. I mean, not even a finch. These birds can't fly in here or anything. So there's an example of how they're living right now. These were given to us sometime this morning. Jonas is laughing because I don't know how to use cameras, and he's like, what's Jason doing with the camera? But yeah, so I'll just let y'all see how they've been living. Yeah, a little sad. And then here's apparently the parents of the other birds, I believe. 4 females and a male is what it looks like. So all those seed shells right there. So I know they're good and hungry, but we're gonna go ahead. We got Alyssa here. Wave at the camera, Alyssa. And got Jonas, of course. And we're gonna carry the cages. I'm gonna carry the camera because I've noticed that when we're making YouTube videos, go ahead guys, y'all carry the cages. When we're making YouTube videos, Jonas gets kind of a break. Like he doesn't have to do anything heavy. I have to do all the work because I'm the one on camera. So I definitely wanna make sure that that's not always the case. So I'll be the cameraman. It's not that hard. Oh yeah, I gotta film them. There's Jonas coming with the birds. And a lot of people are gonna ask in the comments below, you're supposed to quarantine birds. You're supposed to quarantine birds. Blah, blah, blah. These birds have been at her house for several months. They're young. So one of the main concerns when people say quarantine is upper respiratory diseases and cytosine beak and feather disease. And those things, most adult birds are immune to it. And the aviary that they're in is outdoors, and a young bird would be affected by it. Just hold them, let's just stand still until they get still. So we try to keep birds low stress. So I don't think these birds have been outside very much. So they're gonna have a lot to get used to, but we're gonna go in here and release them. I'm gonna pass this back to Jonas and he'll be filming from the outside. We painted the wire on the aviary black before we put any birds in it. It just makes it a whole lot more visible. Perfectly. That almost didn't make it. I did not want to have to catch all these birds out of this cage. But what I was saying earlier about beak and feather disease is it shows up in young animals. So we would see some in a flock this large, we would see some. It's not every day that we do this. If it was a larger bird aviary, I'd definitely quarantine longer. We looked at all the birds in general when we first got them. Everybody appears to be healthy. They've been living in obviously a stressful environment, so any sickness should be showing up already, and it's not. But I'm gonna go ahead. What we're gonna do is actually I think we're gonna leave the cages in here, and I'm just gonna open them up. Oh, that'll be our first bird flying out. And I don't even know if they know how to fly a long distance. They probably think we're releasing them in the wild. You guys wanna come out? So I'm back on the camera again. That's our first one. I don't know if it's gonna be able to fly. This is one that she said was the parents of the others, and we are not gonna put nest boxes in here because the world does not need any more parakeets in captivity. There's enough bird rescues full of parakeets right now as it is. So we'll go ahead and open. It looks like there's 2 doors on this cage. This cage shouldn't even be sold. It's not nowhere near big enough for any bird species other than a transport cage, really. And here's these guys. What's up? Are any of y'all friendly at all? Anybody? Anybody? I don't want to stress them out. I was going to try and release some. The lid of this does not come off. Guys, I really wanted y'all to like come out and, you know, explore and stuff. And these perches like this for birds are awful. Just the same size for all of them. Never get to perch on something different. Can one of y'all step up on me, please? Anybody? Are you going to step up? Are you going to step up? All right, I'm just going to grab you, little baby. And it's free. That's our first parakeet loose. First bird loose. I'm gonna grab another. Oh, that's one of the babies flew out. Some of the babies are coming out, so that's good. Lay it like this. There we go. Now we're talking. You gotta fly up, guys. You gotta go up. There you go. There you go. Freedom. One more left in this little old cage. There we go. And free. Awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these guys out. I kind of want them all to come out at the same time. I've never seen a cage like this in my life. Oh, there we go. So what I did was just take the bottom off so these guys can come out. Y'all gonna come out? They've probably never been in a space this big, been able to fly this much. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. That is everyone. What's up, little guy? This way they have all day with people watching them, us watching them. We can make sure that there's no fighting, which, like I said, the only thing that they could possibly get into arguments with are the adult parakeets that are in here, the 4 that are in here. But with a group this large and this much space and all these new hiding spots, everybody should be pretty friendly. I've never really had issues with parakeets being aggressive with each other. Well, those guys' nightmare is over. That was a life that no bird wants to live, but unfortunately many, many parrots in captivity live that life. These animals are made to fly in the sky and be free and wild, and when you lock them in a cage that size, it is no different than putting a person in a closet and saying, welcome, there's your life, enjoy it. You can do jumping jacks the rest of your life. So these guys are going to be well on their way to being healthy, happy parakeets and never be in a cage again.
The best way to house parakeets in an outdoor aviary. I could not be happier with this. These birds need room to fly, and with